My name is Giselle Beaumay, and I am a life coach for women who specializes in neuroscience and manifestation. I grew up in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic, in a very rural little town, and I grew up with my mom and my siblings. It was amazing. We had mango trees in the backyard. We were out all day. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew whose kid I was. School was only half a day, and then you were outside. We didn't have TVs because literally it was pretty poor, so no one had a TV. And when it rained, it was amazing because it would pour down rain and we would play these really creative games. It was wonderful. So my mom made a decision to send her children to the United States without her. And that was the last time that I was under her household or parented by her. And then we were sent to New York, to the Bronx. And from there were 3 of us, and our family was very poor, like even our extended family. So we were separated. And at times it was this one aunt or this other aunt. It was basically who could take us at various times. And it was pretty poor families who didn't really have capacity for another kid. So, and you sensed that, you knew that, and that was pretty much my experience in New York. So actually, Dominican Republic was way better to have grown up than when life dramatically changed in the Bronx in New York. Well, my mom sent me because her mother told her that she thought it'd be a good idea. It was a terrible idea. You don't send your kids off without you to another country where they don't speak the language with family who cannot afford to have them. To this day, she doesn't acknowledge that that was probably a bad idea, but I've definitely given her grace because I think she made the best decision that she thought she was making at that time. I was recently in the Dominican Republic. I went for a vacation. I took my kids. It was very important for me that they would see my mom in her country because she's come to the United States to see them. I wanted them to have the memory and the experience of seeing her in her own country, speaking her own language, and also to see where I grew up and to learn a little bit more about me through being in the Dominican Republic. And it was an amazing trip. In Dominican Republic, there was trauma, there was abuse, even though I still would say I had a really good childhood there. So I did have PTSD from that, from the Bronx, from those experiences in my adolescent years as well. And sometime in my early 40s, I realized I was following a pattern. I was following a storyline of things that I believed to be true, and I had a really deep victim mentality. I thought a lot of things had happened to me, and I only had one path, and abundance wasn't available to me, and I always needed a savior of some sort. And I recognized that pattern. And so I had to figure out where did that come from and how to change it. And I went back to my spirituality roots. I grew up practicing voodoo. My mom practiced voodoo. So spirituality was really part of my life, but I had left it in my 30s and then I brought it back. And I got into manifestation where people was talking about manifestation. And I really went down that deep rabbit hole. But what was missing for me was the practicality. And it was also missing the fact that I knew my childhood had been different. And how do I change that perception, that reframe, that brain? And it was when I learned about neuroscience. And then I learned, oh wait, I have to rewire my neural pathways for me to be able to live the life that I desire. And that was missing in all of the talk on manifestation, along with action to go along with it. And so I got into neuroscience. I got so much into it that then I joined a master's program, which I'm currently in, to be able to teach applied neuroscience. So how to, it's more than just lab, is how to take the neuroscience research and apply it daily in your life so that you can keep essentially grow in your brain. And the fact when you're creating new neural pathways, you're becoming someone different. And then it allows you to step into abundance and to everything else that you might desire. So part of my teachings, I don't mention voodoo, for the reason being that I don't mention any sort of religion or specific practice. So people do come to me and they have different belief system and they grew up with different religions. I will at times mention that I grew up with voodoo as a way of saying spirituality is not new to me. You know, the spiritual world is not new to me. It might be trending, it might be a modern concept of spirituality, but I grew up with that. That was my childhood. So that's the only time I'll really mention it. I do have people that come from different religions, including Christianity, which I did not grow up in. And what I will say to them when at times, well, first of all, they have to be ready to open up, because if they believe things like meditation is evil or that yoga is not okay and that breath work is not okay, then they might not be a good fit for me. But if they are more open-minded, then we'll talk about the fact, the difference between doctrination and the essence of what I believe Christianity was about, which is love and embodiment of what they call Christ consciousness. And when someone says that word, I think, or those two words, I think, okay, this is a Christian who understands the concept of what I believe true Christianity was about versus the doctrination of it. Voodoo is super interesting because in other African-based religions that are in the Caribbean are super interesting. And the way that they came about, the way that they came about was this. There was colonization, obviously, in the Dominican Republic. And so their original African religions were no longer allowed. In order for them to actually be able to practice their religions, because they were told they had to be Catholic. So they were told, you can't practice your religion, you have to be Catholic. And so they said, okay. And what they did was they basically turned their deity to look like Catholic deities. So you will see pictures of different saints or different deity in voodoo that look like, well, that looks like Black Mary, for example. But they just basically were like, we'll do what you have, we'll do what you need us to do to essentially fake you out and still practice our religions. And so it has to do with having, basically they're considered people that were alive at one point and were teachers and humans, but were of more of a source power. And so you will have these different deities where people will have like the frames of them and they'll have the candles of them. And you will use, it's like ancestral. It's like ancestral medicine where you're getting ancestral guidance from the spirits of voodoo. And like there's one, for example, that is for single moms and who helps single moms with wealth. So then you tap into that ancestor. So that's part of voodoo. I don't practice it fully. Like I'll have a couple of, the spirits in my home. I'll have an altar, but I don't practice it per se. Like I don't do seances, but I grew up with that. Where that would happen in my household, or where my mom would go to different homes, to work with spirits in various homes. So in my world, I grew up communicating with spirits. That's, and to this day I still do. I talk to my brother who passed away, but I don't think of myself as like someone that practices voodoo. A lot of manifestation teachings focused on what's called the law of attraction. And that was it. And so I went very deep into that until I realized, wait, there's a lot missing, especially when I never watched the movie or read the book, The Secret, but I know that it was really popular for the law of attraction. But it's missing so much. It's literally just one part of the concept of manifestation. And manifestation is just one part of spirituality. So there's a lot of practicality and nuances and actions that are missing in the teachings of manifestation. When you bring in the neuroscience, you start to realize, oh wait, it's essentially the same thing. is just changing your self-concept through changing your thinking pattern, through rewiring your brain, and then taking the aligned actions and having you don't always have to believe it, but doing it regardless, that what you desire can be possible. And when you do that, you can shift into a new reality. And you hear I hear the language of manifestation when Arlan speaks. I hear the language of manifestation when I listen to other thought leaders. They're speaking the language of manifestation, but they would never use the word manifestation. But it's the same concept. I work primarily with women. The women that work with me are women that have already tried a lot of things. And actually, that's my preference. I want women who have already tried all the things and it's still not working. And I mean, I'm trying to grow a business and they're doing all the right things, taking all the right courses, doing all the right things for social media, but it's not working. Or it might be, I'm trying to grow my career and they're doing all the right things that they're supposed to do, even taking other courses, and it's not working. Because the work that I do is inner work. So I don't have to teach somebody, this is how you grow a business, or this is how you do this. I just open the pathway so that their actions work, so that the work they do works. So I do the inner clearance, the inner opening, removing the layers of various patterns that they came in with, of the loops that they found themselves stuck in, of their subconscious beliefs that are still there, sabotaging all of their actions. And I help them to rewire their brain, regulate their nervous system, and change their subconscious beliefs. Recently, I've been working with one of my clients who's in the mastermind. Her name is Glenda. She's actually going to be coming to my retreat at the end of May, and she's going to be our vegan chef, so I'll get to meet her in person, but she's been in the mastermind. When she came into the mastermind, she already, and this is very common, they already have a pretty clear concept of what they desire. Like that's usually, they're really good on, this is what I would like in my life. What she wanted was to be able to make money doing the work that she loves. And she loves cooking and she loves helping women. And her belief when she came in was that she had to work really hard to make that happen. And even then, that she can't make that much money from it. And so I dig into their story. And so part of my program is a deep one-on-one where I get to hear their story, because I can't just give general guidance. I have to give really specific guidance. And so we had a session. We did an hour and a half, and I give what's called a prescription. I use prescription because people usually take those seriously. So like, if I name a prescription, you're gonna look at it the same way, but it's a series of practices that they're gonna do. I gave her the practice. Within the first month, she started to get clients. Her actions that she was taking were actually starting to now work, because we were shifting her brain, literally. Like if we're shifting her brain, then she starts to see opportunities and receive them and take advantage of them. By month 3, she made the highest income she had ever made, ever, her whole life. And it was doing work that she loves. And then what happens when you expand into, oh, I'm here, a lot of times your nervous system will want to bring you back because growth can be uncomfortable. So one of the things we're working on is how to regulate her nervous system towards expansion so that her new reality feels comfortable to her. Like having money feels comfortable, holding wealth feels comfortable, having clients feels comfortable. So we work on it's a year-long program because they keep growing, and so then we keep expanding them into that. When I came into All Access, I desired one main thing. How do I scale? I had my mastermind, I had grown a community. How do I scale that? How do I grow to achieve what I desired to do, which is reaching more people? And I didn't know how. And so I came to Arlan because I knew this is something she has done. And she's worked with over 200 companies. So I knew she knew how to work with startups, which is essentially what I was. And so I came in the first month and I said, let's go. I want to scale. And then I almost left because it wasn't for me moving fast enough. but I stayed. The second month is when I was like putting all the actions together. And I said, this has what I need. By the third month, I was having progress, a lot of progress. I was learning what scaling even meant and how to do it, especially when I learned about YouTube and how to grow my YouTube, which I had been trying to do for a few months prior. But what I learned in all access helped me to put the pieces together, have fun with it, and grow my YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine. Now, before, I was actually a blogger, and so I understood the power of Google, and I had grown a profitable blog at that time. I still hadn't made the connection that YouTube was also a search engine. I had really only looked at YouTube as a place where I went to learn and to watch videos, but even though I was searching there, I did not consider it a search engine. When I came to Arlan and I learned about YouTube, that is something that she would repeat. YouTube is the largest search engine. And then I started to put the pieces together. I'm like, all of these people that I've been learning from YouTube, when I would go to YouTube, I would search and I would find videos from like 2, 3, 8 years ago. I had been growing on TikTok this whole time, it's very easy to grow on TikTok. I was doing TikTok. But you can't search for a TikTok and find something from even 5 years ago. But you can go to YouTube and get that kind of information. It serves as a library that is always there. You're always going to be found on YouTube. If your content is good, you're going to be found for years to come. And that took me a while. I did not understand how grand it was. When I did, and it was through watching Arlan, through watching the videos that she was putting out, when I got that concept, I moved over from literally, I dropped Instagram, I dropped TikTok, and I just came over to YouTube. And one significant part of that is when people are consuming content and watching content on YouTube, they're watching you for longer. They're watching you for more than that quick scroll that they're doing in other platforms. So they're receiving more of you. They're getting to know you more. They're more invested in it, which is something that Arlan would say as well. And so when I applied what she taught, it became true. I grew my platform from 400 people when I came to Arlan's to now 18.2, 18,000, just a little over 18,000 and growing because I grow every single month. So if someone wants to fast track that and be able to work directly with Arlan, I would absolutely take that opportunity. And I would absolutely take that opportunity because I had to figure it out. I had to still make it a game. I had to still spend some time trying to put the pieces together. But to have direct access to Arlan, to work one-on-one with her, it would have been fun, for one thing. It would be a lot of fun, and it would move faster. My assignment is to make the path easier for women like me, for women that grew up with a childhood that may have been traumatic, who grew up with a victim mentality, who grew up thinking that abundance and richness was not for them, who grew up trying all the things and still could not achieve what they desired. And instead of spending all the time that I did to put the pieces together, is to just make it smoother, faster, and in community so they don't feel so alone. Having been someone who experienced extreme trauma, a lot of trauma, who experienced poverty, a lot of poverty, who experienced being a not have. That's how I separated my world. There were the haves and there were the not haves, and I was the not have all my life. It was when I realized I can look at the world how I choose to look at the world, and that I had that kind of power. That changed everything. Perception, that we have the power to change our perception immediately. The moment we decide that we're gonna look at life differently, we get to do that. It's a choice. Happiness is an accumulation of micro experiences. But happiness is also a choice. And going from someone that was deeply depressed, who was suicidal, who tried to commit suicide twice, to being someone that now says, every day I wake up, I have two choices. I can go back there or I can go forward. Which way am I going? I make a daily choice. It's a choice, and it's a choice of how you decide that you're going to look at the world. And then which direction, what actions, because you can take the actions to say, woe is me, my life sucks. You will take those actions. Or you can take the actions of, I have autonomy. I can change my life. I can change my perception. What actions align with that? And you get that choice every single day. The other thing is gratitude. When I had nothing, I still would think, well, at least I have a car. When I had no clothes, I would think, well, at least I have 3 outfits. Gratitude will completely change your life if you just focus on what is good in my life, which is, again, another choice. You can focus on what sucks in your life, and you will find yourself in that reality. Truly, your brain will prove you right. Whatever you want to believe, your brain will prove you right. So if life sucks, your brain will make sure life sucks. Or you can say, but I have these things, and this happened to me, and this person smiled at me at the grocery store. And you focus on the gratitude of your life and celebrating that, and your brain will prove that right and make sure that your path leads you to more of that.